You're out on the water, trying to decide whether to spend a good chunk of cash on a trolling motor that promises to do everything but make you a sandwich. The hesitation is real. Most anglers have been burned before by a motor that either won't stay trimmed when the wind picks up, or that costs a fortune and then sits in the boat unused because it's just too much tech to bother with. What you really need is something that's reliable enough to let you focus on the bite, easy enough that you don't spend half the day fiddling with controls, and worth the money when you finally pull the fish in. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Minn Kota Ulterra Freshwater bow mount is marketed as the only trolling motor that can automatically stow and deploy itself, and that alone changes the calculus for a lot of boat owners. If you've ever spent precious minutes wrestling a motor back into the hull after a long day of drifting, the auto stow feature feels like a genuine time saver. But the decision isn't just about the gimmick, it's about how that feature works in real life, how the motor integrates with the rest of your setup, and whether the extra cost translates into day-to-day value. Let's start with the everyday scenario most anglers face. You launch early, set up your fish finder, and then you're trying to position the boat just right for a bottom-bouncing jig. With the Ulterra's 60-inch shaft, the motor clears most mid-size bass boats without a problem, and the 80-pound thrust pushes a 5,500-pound boat through light chop without making you feel like you're fighting the motor. The real magic shows up when you decide to move to a different spot. Instead of turning the motor off, pulling the tiller, and then manually trimming the motor up or down, you press a button and the motor trims itself to keep the prop level as the boat rolls. I've seen a friend on a 14-foot bass boat who said the auto trim saved him from constantly adjusting the tiller during a windy morning. He could keep his eyes on the water, not the motor. Now, the Ulterra also packs a built-in Hummingbird Mega down imaging transducer. In practice, that means you can see a clear, near real-time picture of what's below you, right on your existing fish finder screen. If you're fishing a lake with a lot of structure rock piles, submerged trees, or weed beds, that imaging can help you locate schools of fish that would otherwise be invisible on a standard sonar. A couple of anglers I talked to mentioned that the down imaging gave them confidence to drop a jig near a steep drop-off, something they'd been hesitant to try with just a traditional 2D view. It's not a miracle that makes fish jump into your boat, but it does reduce guesswork and can cut down on wasted casts. One of the headline features is Spot Lock, which lets you lock the GPS onto a specific coordinate, record the path you've taken, and then command the motor to return to that exact spot later. In a real-world fishing trip, that can be a lifesaver. Imagine you've spent a few hours cruising a contour line, find a productive patch, then decide to chase a school a few miles away. With Spot Lock, you press a button, the motor remembers the coordinate, and when you're ready to come back, it guides you straight to that point without you having to mentally map the route. It's especially handy on larger lakes where you might be covering 20 or 30 miles in a day. But the Ulterra isn't a perfect fit for everyone. The auto stow mechanism relies on a motorized arm that pushes the unit up into a dedicated housing. If you have a very shallow hull, a custom mounting solution, or you like to keep your motor on a simple bracket, installing that system can be a bit of a headache. The motor itself is a 24-volt unit, which means you need a robust battery setup. A standard 12-volt deep cycle won't cut it if you plan to run the motor at higher speeds for longer periods. For a casual weekend fisherman who only runs the motor at low speed for short trips, the extra battery cost might outweigh the convenience of auto stow. Another practical consideration is the learning curve. The iPilot Link GPS interface is powerful, but you do have to spend some time syncing it with your fish finder and getting used to the menu navigation. There's no plug-and-play button that instantly gives you Spot Lock. You have to configure the waypoints and understand how the motor interprets the GPS data. For tech-savvy anglers who love tweaking settings, that's a bonus. For someone who wants a set-it-and-forget-it motor, it could feel like over-engineering. So, who should definitely consider the Ulterra? First, boat owners who regularly fish on larger lakes or reservoirs where covering a lot of water is part of the strategy. If you already have a quality fish finder and you're looking to add down imaging without buying a separate transducer, the built-in Mega unit gives you that.